What it was pursuing was, at a minimum, the capability to make nuclear weapons, the mastery of the technology, to have the centrifuges that could enrich the uranium to 93% weapons grade. Because you're right, if all you wanted was to have enriched uranium for a reactor, you could buy it, but you can't buy 93%, or at least not. I mean, maybe some black market, small amounts. But so yes, clearly they wanted the capability, and they wanted to master the full cycle of how to make nuclear weapons. And with that, of course, goes the missiles. Although I'll try to come back to the missiles. But that is still different, and this I think is a very important point. It's different from a decision actually to make nuclear weapons. It is different to have the capability from actually going ahead, enriching uranium to 93%, building the components, and all of that. It's two different things. And so we can't take away the knowledge. It was impossible to negotiate something where Iran gave up all the centrifuges. Anyhow, given that they have the knowledge, they could reconstruct them in a relatively brief period of time. If we had no agreement, we're trying to get them to give up all the centrifuges, we would be pursuing something that really wouldn't be gaining us that much more, because again, they can be rebuilt. And as you say, perhaps rebuilt without being detected. Although, on the detection, first, the detection capabilities in 2015 are a lot better than they were in 1977. And of course, the internet and everything else makes a difference. And secondly, the fact that Iran is, in the context of the Middle East, a relatively open country with so many people who are dissidents, and a nuclear program requires the involvement of so many people, it's pretty hard to keep the lid on. And that is one way in which we found out what they were doing, although I think technical means may have had a role as well. But the real issue is the collapse of the non-proliferation regime. And what would cause the collapse of the non-proliferation regime is Iran developing a nuclear weapon, because it wouldn't be a one-off case the way North Korea is, or, well, India and Pakistan were too. And of course, India and Pakistan didn't sign the treaty. North Korea is the one country to denounce the treaty. But if Iran developed a nuclear weapon, it would lead to a nuclear Middle East. And particularly, again, so that would be the disintegration of the regime. So my argument is that this agreement is the better way to preserve the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. And again, you have to ask the question, as imperfect as the agreement may be, what's the alternative? Again, right now, we have, after all, concluded it. The Security Council has lifted the sanctions. I mean, if it is defeated, do we seriously believe that the sanctions will be reimposed by the other countries on the Security Council? No. No, that's wishful thinking. Are we really prepared? Do we think that if the agreement is repudiated, that Iran would still give up its program? No. Are we prepared to go to war? No. If you will concede that my analysis of the internal situation of Iran is possibly true, I mean, we don't have to agree that it certainly will happen the way I've described it. I can't say it will certainly happen, but I think there's a reasonable case to believe that might be the case. Do we think that the repudiation of the agreement will strengthen Rouhani? No, clearly it will weaken it. It will strengthen the hardliners. So it may lose an opportunity that a year from now, we'll be looking at this like we did in 1989. So I think there's a lot to lose if the Congress were to overturn the agreement, and not much to gain. But I'm recognizing with you that that Iran's nuclear program was not a nuclear energy program. It was looking to master to have the ability to make nuclear weapons. Again, making the important point that the ability is not the same thing as doing it. With regard to the missiles, that I think is also different, because the missiles do have a conventional use, and there are memories in Iran of the Iran-Iraq War, including the War of the Cities, which Baghdad and Tehran were hit by missiles. So I think there's a little more to that. I'm afraid it's getting late, and I'm happy to take some more questions from people, but I don't want everybody to feel that they need to hang around, and I think there's only so much on a Saturday night in summer.